for the last years, actually, we have been fighting for the truly single capital market union. But as you know very well as well, we are often facing, especially in the trialogues, just narrow-minded defending of national interests. And so I hope that your speech will strengthen our position also in the upcoming trialogue. So thank you very much for this. I would have two questions. One is a request to you to kind of update us on the transmission protection instrument, because I understand that since it was launched in July 2022, it has never been used. But then if you look at the spreads, if you compare between Italian and German bonds, you can see that in this year, the situation of Italian bonds improved strongly. So maybe we don't need this instrument to be applied, because it's enough that it's somewhere hanging in the air and is working as a kind of risk instrument, or I don't know, just impacting without being used. So that's my one question. And my second question is related to what you said about the fiscal rules in response to Markus Ferber's question. You said that those new ones on which we are working with the Council, or maybe still separately, they should come as soon as possible because they will bring the reduction of uncertainty. But in this context, I would like to ask you, because my understanding is that the Commission proposal would lead to substantial tightening of the fiscal stance in the medium term. So it will not just come overnight. It will take for some time, this process of tightening the fiscal policies. And this continued fiscal consolidation under this new fiscal framework might result in an overly tight fiscal stance. And the question to you is, I don't know when you will finally reach the target inflation, but you can reach a moment where where implementation of the new fiscal rules will collide with the logic of monetary policy. Do you see this risk that, because this process of implementing this rule, which will be, I think, monitored and we will be very tough on it, can somehow be in collision with your logic of monetary policy that might. So do you see this risk? Do you worry, or you think that you will just cope with it once it's come?
Thank you very much. And count on me on Capital Market Union. I will repeat if necessary, and it's really, really important, and I agree exactly with your characterization of the approach that is taken occasionally by member states, which I think calls for a higher imperative than the pure domestic perspective. So on your first question on the transmission protection instrument that we outlined and announced in July 22. It was intended to safeguard the smooth transmission of our monetary policy throughout the entire euro area market and to all countries. And it was certainly not intended to cushion the worsening of country-specific fundamentals. And that's very clearly stated. So it has a set of criteria that apply to countries that would eventually fall under the benefit of that transmission protection instrument, or that would benefit from the transmission protection instrument. I can list them for you. It's number 1, compliance with the EU fiscal framework. Number 2, the absence of severe macroeconomic imbalances. Number 3, fiscal sustainability. Number 4, sound and sustainable macroeconomic policies. And of course, before those criteria are applied to any potential candidate country, we have to determine that the TPI is actually appropriate and proportional in order to deal with the situation. And in particular, we need to make sure that it's intended for the purpose for which it was created. And it was intended for a temporary period of time and without prejudice to our monetary policy. I think it's a good instrument. We have not had to use it, and It's not the only instrument that is in the toolbox and which we haven't used, but it's there. And if and when it is necessary to use it, of course we will use it. So your second question related to the response that I gave to Markus Ferber concerning the fiscal governance and the economic dialogue that is ongoing at the moment, for which I encouraged very much the parties to the agreement to reach a conclusion as quickly as is possible. For one primary reason is that it would help us eliminate the uncertainty and the vagueness of the parameters within which member states are deciding their budgets at the moment. They have guidelines, they have some recommendations, the Commission has to scrutinize their proposed budget as it normally does, but without reference to a framework or with reference to an old framework, which everybody seems to agree is not adequate in order to deal with the current situation. We have transmitted our comments and we have given an opinion which was agreed by the whole Governing Council in response to the draft Commission plan, which has now been revised under the Spanish presidency, which has come up with some new proposals. But those comments included in particular, one, a realistic and gradual and sustained adjustment of public debt. So that coincides with what you said, which is not a brutal effort which is front-loaded, but over the course of time, 4 or 7 years, this is something that is much in debate, as I understand, a public debt that comes back to a more realistic and good adjustment that makes it sustainable. Second, we have encouraged in policies that promote growth and investment. And third, we have encouraged the enhancement of counter-cyclicality. And we have also added that the enforcement mechanism should be efficient, should be enforceable, which we have not always seen, and that the whole new framework should hopefully be more simple to understand and to implement. So we hope that this will be the case. I'm a little bit skeptical about the simplicity aspect of what is being negotiated at the moment, and not that it would require a brain surgeon to actually understand how it applies, but it would certainly require a lot of thorough knowledge of all the criteria, the parameters, and the various alternatives in the tree of decision that the Commission will have to apply. But, first and foremost, we would like to have some certainty about what framework will apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.